Well, good morning. I haven't seen this room this full since Once Upon a Mattress was in here. So I appreciate everybody showing up this morning. I learned two things when I served in the United States Air Force. Never get between the troops and the chow line and start meetings on time. And I failed in one of those. I promise I'll have you out of here shortly after lunch. So it'll be good. But really, seriously, good morning. I can't begin to tell you how humbling it is and what an honor it is to stand before such an esteemed and outstanding audience of faculty, staff, and members of the administration to deliver my first State of the University here at YSU. And I can't think of a better place to make this presentation than right here in Ford Theater in Bliss Hall, where many wonderful performances have taken place over the years. Maybe we'll add this to the list of those. We'll see. So I want to thank all of you for voluntarily attending. Leanne and I also want to thank our amazing Board of Trustees, led by Chair Michael Peterson, for placing their trust in us to lead this amazing university. We're so excited to be here. Now, I call our Board of Trustees amazing because, well, I believe they simply are. In my previous life, I've dealt with boards of trustees across our state and even our country. I've seen some good ones, and I've seen some really bad ones. These Board of Trustee members are volunteers. We're blessed with the group that we have. They don't get paid for what they do. They have businesses to run, jobs to work, families to raise, and all that go along with all of those things. But they selflessly devote themselves to making sure YSU remains the unbelievable, unimaginable institution that we all know that it is. Now, you might find this funny, but this is probably the most intimidating thing that I've had to do since taking office on January 22nd. You see, I've sat through many State of the Unions in our nation's capital. They usually last, like I said, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Some of them are good, and yes, some of them are very boring. So I've struggled a bit to figure out how to make this interesting and informative, but at the same time, keep us on track, especially with a group of professionals like you folks who know this institution far better than I do. And to do all of that without you walking away thinking that you just wasted 2 hours of your time that you can never get back. But I'm going to try. Really, I'm not going to hold you that long, I promise. And so to be respectful of your time, let's get right into it. And I'll start with this simple statement. Youngstown State University is in a really good place. Thanks to the hard work of our Vice President of Finance and Business Operations, Neil McNally, we're very financially sound. Enrollment is up. Now, it's too early to call it a trend, but hey, in this world of intense competition for students, up is definitely the right direction. Our academic offerings are growing, driven by the outstanding efforts of our provost, Dr. Jennifer Pintar, and our faculty to stand up over 60-plus new programs to fill the void being created by the closing of Eastern Gateway Community College. And by the way, wasn't Dr. Pintar a great choice to be our new provost? Let's give her a round of applause. So there's a feeling of optimism in the air. I've heard from across the spectrum of our Penguin community, our faculty, our staff, our leadership team, our alumni, the business and industry community that we serve, and most importantly, our students. But for the purposes of this presentation, let's start by taking a look at where we began. Youngstown State has an amazing history. Since 1908, when our founders taught that first commercial law class over at the YMCA, YSU has been addressing the educational needs of our community. Over the years, that effort expanded with each and every name change, from the point where YSU was integrated into the Youngstown Association of Schools in 1916, to the renaming of the institution as the Youngstown Institute of Technology when the school began teaching an expanded liberal arts curriculum, to 1921 when we became the Youngstown College, leading to efforts to become accredited in 1944. Now, to gain accreditation, the school had to sever its relationship with the YMCA and changed its name again to Youngstown University. Then in 1967, the final leap occurred as Youngstown University became a part of the Ohio Public Institutions of Higher Learning and changed its name again to what it is today, Youngstown State University. Over the years, YSU has grown and flexed to provide high-quality education to a vast, ever-expanding and diverse region. And we've been through some challenging times. We attract some of the most amazing faculty and staff in the world, and I'm proud of every one of them. For the most part, our faculty and staff are here because they believe in the culture and in the hardworking resilience that defines the people that live here. Youngstown is largely regarded, at least throughout most of its early history, as steel country. At one time, steel mills dotted the landscape throughout much of our region. And you could scarcely find a family where someone in that family didn't work in the steel industry. In fact, on the side of our shopping mall in Boardman Township reads this phrase: "You can't break a city built from steel." In Youngstown, we bend, folks, but we don't break. We're adaptable, we're resilient, we're persistent, and we deliver. We're here for the long haul, and the same can be said of YSU. Because after the steel industry in our region collapsed in the 70s, families began looking at alternatives of learning new skills and taking their education in a different direction in order to ensure economic prosperity for their family and future generations. And YSU always stepped up. From 1975 through 1991, enrollment here at YSU dropped below 15,000 students only 3 times as families began reinventing themselves. But by the mid-90s, enrollment began to drop off considerably, and today we're sitting at around 11,000 students, give or take. Now that drop has occurred for many reasons, many of them beyond our control. But that doesn't give us an excuse to sit back and accept declining enrollment, and we're not. But I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So let's bring the clock forward and talk about where we are today, what some of our challenges are, and what we're doing to address them, and hopefully illuminate for you and the audience watching today's presentation the path forward. It's important that we all understand these challenges because it's only by working together that we're going to overcome them. And believe me, we are going to overcome them. That's what we do. You know, I'm often asked, what are your goals? I've been asked that 1,000,000 times since I got here. As president, what is it that you want to accomplish? Now, I think in most cases, that's a sincerely asked question. People simply want to know where we're heading. But in some cases, I think it's actually a stump the dummy question. It's another way of saying, hey, you don't know anything about higher education, so how are you going to lead this place? And you know, I get that. I really do. So in order to dispel any ambiguity and eliminate potentially invalid assumptions, let me outline for you specifically what some of my goals are. Now, we've been working on many of these since I got here, but keep in mind, goals change because circumstances change. Oftentimes, in spite of our best efforts to keep the wheels between the ditches, the market changes, public opinion changes, the legislature begins to see things differently, a new governor takes office, economics change, all of which require us to change our strategies. First, and I know probably most of you feel this way, I want YSU, my first goal is that YSU becomes the, not an, the anchor university in Northeast Ohio. I want us to lead, not follow. So how do we do that? Let's start this discussion with a look at our YSU vision statement. It's very simple. Most of you can quote it. Our vision is to be an institution of opportunity. YSU inspires individuals, enhances futures, and enriches lives. We've been doing that for a long time. We're going to continue doing that on steroids as we move forward. That means, folks, to meet that vision statement, we have to understand that we're in the people business. It's our job to provide the students that choose YSU with a robust repertoire of educational choices that will enable them to pursue the American dream on their own terms. Thomas Jefferson, one of our key founders, advocated that a democratic society is dependent on a well-informed and educated citizenry. His actual quote said this: "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. Whenever the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government." End quote. That's because, folks, we can't be a self-governing people unless we are a self-responsible people. And we can't be a self-responsible people unless we are an informed and educated people. That's where YSU comes in. We are in the people business. That means that here at YSU, our primary product, the education that we provide to our students, has to be foremost in our minds. To that end, our provost, Dr. Pintar, is working collaboratively with our academic senate, our faculty and staff to develop an academic master plan. And many of you in this room are going to be a part of that effort. Here's a good way to look at it. Consider this analogy. If YSU were a manufacturing company, the product that we're manufacturing is the education that we provide. That means the provost is sort of like the plant manager. Most of you that have been around the manufacturing industry, you know what the plant manager is. It's her job, it's the provost's job to understand our customers. And who are they? They are our students and the businesses that need the workforce that we're educating. It's her job then to lead the design and development of the products that our customers want and need. What's the product? The courses we offer. It's her job to take the orders for the products we produce, and it's her job to manage the assembly lines that produce and deliver those products. That's the courses and the faculty that do the teaching. But it doesn't stop there, because it also means that every other function in this university, from HR and legal, finance operations, admissions, financial aid, the registrar, facilities, even the president's office, is a support function that supports the work of the provost. That has to be our focus. My second goal is to improve the student experience for the thousands of students who trust their future to YSU. Whether they're first-time students, returning students, midlife career-changing students, advancing their career-type students, or whatever, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what led them to YSU. What matters is that they've trusted us to give them the tools that they need to meet the challenges of their generation. And they deserve a good quality of life experience here along the way. That's why we're working so diligently on the Kilcawley Student Center project, the renovation. It's a very important project because that building is home away from home for our approximately 11,000 students, not to mention the many faculty, staff, and members of the region's business and industry community who use the facility for meeting and collaborating spaces. It was built in the 1960s, and with the exception of a few additions along the way, expansions, it hasn't had a facelift in 60 plus years. When I speak at our student orientation events in that building, by the way, I talk about the student experience. First, I welcome them to the Penguin family, and I tell them what a special family we are. But then I challenge them to embrace 3 personal goals. First, to make a commitment to complete their degrees. Make that commitment up front. I tell them how hard it is to restart a big project once you've made the mental decision to put it on the shelf, for whatever reason. So I encourage them to avoid the temptation to quit when the going gets tough, because the going will get tough from time to time. And I tell them about the amazing faculty and the advisors that are here, that they'll encounter, that are determined to help them accomplish their goal of graduating. Then I encourage them to avoid amassing a significant financial debt to get through college. I remind them that we have the 3rd lowest tuition in our state for a 4-year university. And I encourage them to get with our financial aid team to talk about financial aid, work study, paid internships, and other ways that we can help them defray that cost. Finally, I encourage them to take advantage of the opportunities we give them to develop a plan for what they're going to do after they graduate. I talk to them about how we're becoming more seamlessly integrated with the business and industry community, and how they can get scholarships and internships in the field that they are majoring in if they take advantage of those opportunities. After all, they're not only here to graduate, but we want them to live, play, work, raise their families right here in our region. I'm going to segue just a minute, because after I wrote this speech, an article came out this week. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was an article over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal about Northeastern University. And they are what the writer of that article called the new model of American university, because they are achieving some of the most remarkable results in making sure that their graduates are finding jobs in the careers area that they're majoring in, upwards of 90%. Well, I wanted to scream when I read that article, because we've been doing that for a long time, and we're continuing to do it right here. The interesting thing is, you know how much the tuition is at Northeastern University? $90,000 a year. $90,000 a year. We're right around 10,000, almost 10% of what Northeastern charges. And we put out a higher quality product, I guarantee you. And we've implemented other student experience programs as well. For example, Know Why Fridays, designed to extend awareness of YSU and expose our students to the employers in our community for whom we hope they'll work for someday. By utilizing our campus spaces, putting up signage, banners, decals, etc., and inviting our community partners to join us here, we can help others, both internally and externally, know why YSU is such a special place. Ultimately, it'll help us develop ambassadors to help advance YSU's brand to strategically selected community groups and organizations. Another student experience program is our Thought Leader series. Our intent is to survey the campus in the fall for speaker and topic suggestions, then to make recommendations to the provost who, in collaboration with our academic leadership, will identify selected speakers. Watch for more information on this one. We're also focusing on improving our advising process to help improve our students' experience. This one is really important. I routinely meet with students around the campus, either as I'm walking around or over a planned lunch. I always ask them, what brought you to YSU? What are we doing right? And what would you change if you could make a change? Often their answer is that they're having issues with the advising process. Now, please understand what I'm saying here. I'm not being critical of our advisors. It's not a people problem, it's a process problem. I've talked to our students who've had multiple advisors over the first couple of years that they've been here. And their complaint is that each time they change advisors, they get a new vision about how to get to graduation, and it really confused them. So they're struggling to get a clear view and a clear path forward. We're working to fix this. Now, these are just a few of the things that we're doing to improve the experience for our students, and there'll be more. And if you have ideas, my door is open to you. If you've got ideas of how we can make life better for our students here, because that's why we're all here in the first place, come and see me. My door's open. So our student experience is important, but the faculty and staff experience is important as well. I've often said that if you don't wake up every morning looking forward to go to work, if you don't feel empowered, if you don't feel respected and valued, if you don't feel productive, that you're a part of something bigger than you are, and if you're not accomplishing your own personal, professional goals, then I'm not doing my job, and something needs to change. And you need to come and see me and tell me about it. And folks, I really mean that. My door's open to you. But we are doing some things to improve both the personal and professional quality of life for our faculty and staff. One of those ways is to create an innovation investment fund to provide the opportunity for interdisciplinary collaboration to explore, assess, or implement innovative strategies associated with two areas: teaching and learning with a connection in some form or fashion to AI, and student attraction, recruiting to academic programs directly connected to matriculation, persistence, degree completion, or career success. The selected projects for this Innovation Investment Fund will span a single academic year, will have boundaries around the amounts of funds provided, and must have key performance indicators by which we'll measure success. In other words, we want these to be results-oriented projects. You'll hear more about this program in the coming weeks and months, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. Another one of my goals is to increase enrollment. That's the elephant in the room, and you'll understand why as I get through this portion of the presentation. But don't yawn at the increasing enrollment goal, right? Because I know the drill. Every university in the nation is trying to increase enrollment. So unless it has some specificity to it, it can be somewhat of an ambiguous goal. But let's start this discussion by looking at some of the challenges that we have with enrollment, because enrollment is important. The competition to capture the student market is intense, and we're beginning to feel the pressure here at YSU. Other institutions of higher learning are foraging into our own backyard to try and increase their enrollment because they're feeling the pressure too. But why is enrollment such a problem today? Well, population decline is a big part of the problem. Some of you probably already know this, but it takes 2.1 children per female to sustain our population. This is referred to as the replacement rate. Another way of looking at it is that in 1950, the United States was seeing just under 25 births per every 1,000 people in our country. This year, in 2024, that number is now 12. It's dropped in half. In fact, the birth rate in our country has declined for 6 straight years, and 19% since 2007, and it is projected to continue declining. That means the pool of potential college-bound graduating high school seniors from both public and private schools is shrinking. And the number of the students in that pool is also shrinking. When you combine that with the fact that homeschooling has increased by 50% since 2018, the problem gets worse. We have trouble even figuring out where all of the college-bound students are. But there's also, my friends, a false narrative out there that's causing parents, students, legislators, and other stakeholders to question the value proposition of a college degree. Some are saying it's not needed at all. and others are saying it costs too much. I somewhat disagree with both of those statements. As for a college education not being needed, that's certainly not true. We have the data that shows that. In a career outcomes survey conducted in 2022 and 2023, we found that a Mahoning Valley High School graduate with no college education earned an average of just over $25,000, while YSU associate's degree graduates earned an average of over $49,000 per year. But that study also revealed that YSU bachelor's degree students, the graduates, earned an average of almost $60,000 per year. So clearly, the value proposition of a college education indicates that there is a significant return on investment. We've simply got to help our prospective students see that value proposition of coming to YSU. But what about the false narrative? A narrative that causes Americans to question the value proposition of a college education. Here's an example of how that narrative is pushed. The Associated Press, and maybe you read this article, the Associated Press recently published an article that said 32% of Americans surveyed said that they have little to no confidence in higher education. Well, I had a journalist come by my office to talk to me about the article. They wanted my opinion. They asked me, what do you say to parents, to stakeholders that say they have little to no confidence in higher education? I asked the journalist, I said, did you actually read the Gallup poll where the AP pulled their data from? Of course, they had not. But the data they referenced in that Gallup poll actually said that, yes, 32% of those surveyed had little or no confidence in higher education, but it also said that 36% of Americans surveyed have high confidence in higher education, and that 32% of those that were surveyed have some confidence in higher education. So while the AP article focused on the negative aspects of the 36% that have little to no confidence, the poll actually revealed that a full 68%, over 2/3 of those surveyed, said they had some confidence in higher education. So I refocused the interview to talk about what's right about higher education, rather than what the AP characterized as a higher education value proposition decline. So how do we go about increasing enrollment with these headwinds against us then? We obviously can't quickly address the population decline, but how do we do a better job of attracting more students in an ever-shrinking pool? Predominantly 2 ways. First, we must cast a wider net. We've got to go to student hunting. We've got to do student hunting where the students are. And we need to use tools and methods that will actually resonate with them. In other words, we must be competitive because the vultures are circling. To be competitive, we need to not only manage our cost structure, but we have to offer what our customers, the students and the businesses that hire them, we have to tailor our programs to what they want and need. We must be nimble, flexible, adaptable, and agile, because workforce needs in this ever-changing and technologically advancing global economy are like shifting sands under our feet. They're changing. They're changing rapidly and frequently, and that's not going to go away. So we've begun implementing policies and processes across the spectrum to address enrollment, to make us nimble, agile, flexible, and adaptable. It's still a work in progress, but we're greatly expanding our program offerings. As many of you know, it was announced at the end of last year that Eastern Gateway Community College would be closing. At the invitation of Governor DeWine, we began working diligently in December to position YSU as the school of choice for students in the vast catchment area in Jefferson County and beyond that would be disenfranchised by Eastern Gateway's exit. Our Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness, Board Professional and Student Affairs, Dr. Mike Sherman, began working diligently with the Ohio Department of Higher Education to help manage the Eastern Gateway drawdown while positioning YSU as the institution of choice for the students, both current and future, that would need someplace to go. But we had a massive amount of work to do on the academic side of that equation because we didn't have all of those Eastern Gateway programs here at YSU. Our provost, Dr. Pintar, worked collaboratively with our outstanding academic senate, our faculty, and our staff to stand up some 60-plus new programs. We've even added a new aviation program and a CDL program to address serious workforce deficiencies in the commercial aviation and commercial transportation industries. Along the way, we had many accreditation, legal, financial, HR, operating location, and other issues to resolve. And while it's still a work in progress, folks, we've made great strides. Very soon, YSU will be providing the full continuum of post-secondary education choices, from credentials, certificates, and associate degrees to bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees to a vast population in a new, expanded, and diverse catchment area, all under one university umbrella. We'll begin teaching some of those courses online this fall, and soon the big red Y will be going up in Steubenville in Jefferson County as we begin teaching in the classroom there as well. This is the kind of nimbleness, flexibility, and agility that I'm talking about that'll keep us competitive in this hyper-intensive enrollment environment. And it couldn't have happened without the hard work of our outstanding faculty, staff, our deans, and our chairs, Drs. Pintar and Sherman, as well as our lead counsel, Holly Jacobs, our CFO, Neil McNally, and it continues to be a true Penguin family team effort. But our enrollment efforts don't stop there. This fall, we prototyped our new Penguin Prep program. This program is designed to find those students that, due to circumstances often beyond their control, might be borderline with their test scores and GPA in qualifying for acceptance at YSU as an undergraduate student. We work collaboratively with the local school districts to identify these high potential yet borderline students. Then we bring them to campus in the summertime and put them under the mentoring of Dr. Amy Cosentino and her honors college team in an effort to instill in them the confidence that, yes, they can handle college work after all. We're very optimistic about the results so far. We had our first group of students this summer, and I'm anxious to see the program expand. We're also looking to expand our student recruiting into the veteran and active duty military markets. Our nation's heroes have a tough job. And whether they're sitting in a bunker somewhere around the world in harm's way, on board a submarine or a ship, sitting alert at a missile silo or a warfighting air wing, or behind a desk at the Pentagon, they need access to higher education choices too. And we've begun launching activities to help them know why YSU can be the choice for them. We're also exploring an expansion of our Reserve Officer Training Corps programs to include not only our current Army ROTC program, but also Air Force and Navy ROTC programs. You'll hear more about this in the coming months as well. With access to higher education being one of the main consideration of students, parents, and other stakeholders, we're looking at expanding our online offerings from College Credit Plus high school programs that help build pipelines to attending YSU after high school to our graduate and undergraduate programs. Now look, don't get me wrong. I've heard the rumors too that we're heading toward becoming an online university. That is not true. We're not heading toward being an online-only university. But if we want to significantly increase enrollment, and if we want to be competitive in the national arena of institutions of higher learning, we must have a multi-focus philosophy of both online and in-resident on-campus offerings. Our competitors are doing it, and we've demonstrated we can do it. But two of the most important initiatives we've launched to increase enrollment are our Enterprise Enrollment Project and the standing up of our strategic communications function. Our Enterprise Enrollment Project is an effort to synergize all aspects of the enrollment function so that everyone involved in the process understands the role that they play and the contributions they make towards student attraction and recruiting, persistence, completion, and post-graduation career success. We've partnered with a nationally recognized consulting group, RNL, to create a structure of adaptive agility tools that enable us to adjust to the evolving needs of a diverse student body, specialized student groups, and shifting landscapes of higher education. We're well into the implementation of this new enterprise enrollment, and you'll also be hearing more about this very soon as well. However, none of our efforts to increase enrollment will be sustainable if we're not effectively communicating what we're doing, how we're doing it, when we're doing it, and most importantly, why we're doing it, the value proposition of pursuing an education at YSU, both internally and externally. So upon my arrival here in January, it became another one of my goals to stand up a strategic communications function, to synergize our communications, marketing, branding, advertising, social and digital media, and local and national press relationships. It is important that everyone in this room, all of you, and everyone on our campus to know why we're doing the things that we're doing. But to attract students and increase enrollment, we have to make sure that students, parents, businesses, and stakeholders around the world also know why. It's also important that we keep the well over hundreds of thousands of Penguin alumni informed, because many of them not only support YSU financially, but they're also ambassadors and recruiters that promote the YSU brand around the world. And I'm very proud that we found a YSU graduate, a former YSU faculty member, a retired Navy captain with 25 years of military service, a business leader, and a proud member of the Penguin family, Tim Harrington, to lead this effort and become our strategic communications officer. So keep your eyes open. You'll see Tim around the campus as he engages across the spectrum, and you're going to begin to see a shift in the way that we communicate our value proposition, both internally here on campus and outwardly to the rest of the world. Another one of my goals is to more seamlessly integrate YSU with our businesses and industries across our region, state, and nation, so that we better understand their workforce needs and so we can produce the workers that they require. This isn't a goal you can do in just one day or only just one time. It's a constantly evolving goal. But because those workforce needs constantly change, we have to be able to change with them. So this too is a work in progress. To accomplish this, Dr. Pintar, our provost, and I completely re-engineered our Division of Workforce Education and Innovation. Used to be called DWEI. Many of you here remember that. And we moved those programs and functions into our STEM college and honors college. Specifically, we moved our IT Workforce Accelerator, our Data Mine, our Excellence Training Center, or ETC, our Williamson Innovation Park, and our Online Skills Accelerator programs into the STEM college. And we moved the Trestle Institute for Leadership and Teamwork, or TILT, into the Honors College. The idea here is to create a synchronous and synergistic integration between the faculty that educates and trains the workforce and the businesses and industries in our community that so desperately need that workforce. And it's working, folks. In fact, it's already paying dividends. Here's an example. Shortly after we made these structural changes, we had a very successful local company come in to see me. They sat down across my table and they said, we want to provide a scholarship to a student. We need engineers in our company. So we want to provide a scholarship, but we want to choose who that scholarship goes to. So we want you to identify the candidates, send them to us. We'll do the interviewing, and we'll select the student to award a scholarship for. We'll give that scholarship, and then when they graduate, they've got a job in our company. It worked. They identified a student. Get ready to go do the ribbon cutting or the announcement of that big day. I get a call from the CEO. She said, well, I got some news for you. We're not going to be able to take one student. We want 2 students. We found 2 engineers in our interview process that fits exactly what we want here. So we went over and we had 2 students get their college paid for and have a guarantee of a job when they graduate. Another month went by. I got a call from an engineering student on our swim team. He said, Mr. President, you said if we needed help, that you would try and help us. He said, I want an internship. I need a way to know what I'm going to do when I graduate from college. Can you help me? I said, send me your resume. He sent me his resume. I sent it back to that same company. I said, is there any chance you can take 3? A couple of weeks went by. I get a call from the CEO. She said, thanks for sending the resume. I've connected with the student, and yes, we're taking 3. So what started out as 1 ended up being 3 of our engineering students that are now working in that company. So that is an example of how these programs are working. So I've mentioned some of the major goals I came in with and I took office, and trust me, other goals will emerge as we seek to become the anchor university of Northeast Ohio, especially given the ever-changing workforce, economic, cultural, social, and competitive higher education environment that's swirling around us. But I want to end the goal discussion with just one more. When I was going through the interview process last fall, and some of our Board of Trustee members are here, they can testify to this. I was asked a question. It went something like this. Bill, why is it, do you think, YSU often finds itself at the back of the line when it comes to influencing funding and policy decisions that affect YSU? Why is it we often find out things too late in the process to influence the outcome and we wind up holding an empty bag? How would you address that? And I responded with this. I said, well, there's a really good reason for that. You know, I've served in the House for over 13 years. All that time has been as a representative of a vast region that included much of YSU's area of influence. But take a guess at how many times over that 13 years that the government affairs team from YSU came in to see me either in Washington or in my district office to talk about policy or funding needs and maybe how I could help them. There were blank stares around the room. I followed with this. I said, folks, it's not a hard guess because it's a really small number. The number is 0. Now you contrast that to the number of times that the government affairs team from Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Dayton, and Kent State, and University of Akron, Cleveland State, others, OU, came into my office. They were there several times a year to talk to me about these kinds of things. And I didn't even represent their areas of the state. So I recognized early on that if we were going to have a voice at the table with the decision makers so that we could influence the outcome of policy and funding decisions, both in Columbus and in Washington, D.C., then we would need to stand up a government affairs operation here at YSU. And we did that pretty close to day 1 of me taking office. And I'm proud of the work Sarah Keeler and Maria Bova have done to not only get us a place at the table, but also to influence some pretty major decisions that have benefited YSU. Right out of the gate, Sarah worked collaboratively with our administrative team to prepare our testimony before a key bipartisan state Senate committee in Columbus on behalf of our capital budget submission. It worked. We got exactly what we asked for. Some other universities did not. Since then, she's worked diligently to build the processes and the structure that'll enable us to advocate in Columbus and Washington for the critical resources that we need. She's currently working to expand and make more efficient our grant writing operation, because there are lots of funding opportunities out there, and we're leaving money on the table and losing out on those opportunities because we don't submit a competitive application, if we submit an application at all. And she's changing that. She's also looking outward into our community, our businesses and industries, the base that we serve across our vast region, to develop a public policy agenda that synchronizes with their workforce needs. We can better understand them, and that way we can do a better job of producing a product that they need. And she's working hard every day to advance the YSU brand in both Columbus and in Washington, D.C. Legislators and decision makers there need to see YSU as the leader that we are. We need to have a seat at the table when the debate is going on, when decisions are being made, not standing at the back of the line only to be told after the fact that we didn't get what we needed yet once again. Those days are over. I've heard from our business and industry community at large how excited they are that we've taken this approach. I believe this decision will continue to bear great fruit in the coming years because our government affairs operation provides that critical integration with those who hold our destiny in their hands, our legislators. We must be at that table. Now, let's turn our attention to our financial outlook. Friends and colleagues, there is no single area more important to the survival of institutions of higher learning than their financial status. You're seeing it play out in real time all across our nation, and it's happening right here in Ohio. You've probably seen some of these examples. From Notre Dame College up in Cleveland, that closed its door almost without notice, to what I mentioned earlier, Eastern Gateway Community College here in our region. Several of our other sister universities, some of them in our region, that are being forced to take unprecedented steps to address serious financial shortfalls. I've read article after article from experts in higher education imploring presidents across our country not to take their eyes off of their financial positions. At the recent New President School hosted by the Harvard College of Education, I went there a few weeks ago up in Boston. I heard some of the horror stories from presidents across the country who are starting their jobs in institutions facing dire financial situations. Fortunately, that is not the case here at YSU. And I'm very proud of the work our CFO, Neil McNally, and his team do to keep us on the right track. But he doesn't do that work in a vacuum. He must have the help of our entire team, our administration leaders, our faculty, and our staff. We must all recognize that YSU is not just a school, a university, but we also have to function very much like a business. And our shareholders demand that we're somewhat self-sustaining in order to help finance the things that we need to do in order to compete in this evolving and hyper-competitive higher education environment. And who are those shareholders? It's primarily the state, the federal government via federal financial aid for tuition, and the parents and the students who pay the bills out of their own pockets. Let me break that down a little bit. As a public institution, YSU derives 2/3 of its revenue from tuition and 1/3 from state funding. That's another reminder of the importance of enrollment, because even our state funding is determined. Enrollment is a critical part of the formula that determines our state funding. So that's why we're putting so much emphasis on getting our enrollment up the right way, because student enrollment drives most of our important sources of revenue. Now, we also have a development operation in collaboration with the Youngstown State University Foundation, through which we raise money to support YSU's operations indirectly by providing scholarships for our students, which YSU records as tuition revenue, and also some of our projects here on campus. But I'll talk more about that in a few moments as well. But it's important then that we understand the business dynamics of an academic institution like YSU. Just like any business which has a strategic plan designed to understand its customers and develop products or solutions to meet that business's customers' needs, we here at YSU must continually look at the needs of our customers, the students, the businesses, and the industries that purchase our products, and develop academic programs that meet those needs. At the risk of sounding a bit repetitive, that's why Dr. Pintar's efforts to collaboratively develop an academic master plan is so vitally important. So don't be dismissive of that. It's not just a piece of paper. It's important. Because in this business cycle, to be competitive, we have to understand our market. And we must develop products that meet the market's demand. Simply put, from a business perspective, you can't spend $100 making a product and then sell it for $30 and expect to stay in business. Ask any business person, they'll tell you that. In our case here at YSU, our market is ever changing and shifting. Technology evolves, economies go up and down, students' needs change, business demands shift, and we must be nimble, agile, flexible, and adaptable if we expect to compete and maintain our financial stability. Like I said earlier, I'm proud of where we are financially. Now, do I wish we had more money, more funding to do more of the great things I know our amazing students, faculty, and staff are capable of? Absolutely yes. Of course I do. And if our enrollment efforts are successful, we'll see the needle begin to move in that direction. But let me assure you, today, as I stand here, YSU is financially sound. In fact, despite the many challenges facing universities across the nation, including this hyper-competitive and very crowded higher education market, I'm pleased to report that YSU remains on solid financial footing. That's even more impressive when you consider that state capital and operating budgets that fund us have remained relatively flat for the last 2 decades, 20 years. If anything, they've shrunk. But just earlier this year, Standard & Poor's, in the face of all of those challenges, Standard & Poor's reaffirmed our A+ credit rating and upgraded our outlook from negative, due to no fault of our own, by the way, to stable. And in the national market of institutions of higher learning, folks, that's a big deal to get that kind of bump up in our credit rating. One final note on our financial status. As I mentioned, in addition to funding we get from state, federal, and tuition payments from parents and students, we raise money in collaboration with our development partner, the Youngstown State University Foundation, to support our students. And that's a real success story as well. In the 7-year development campaign of the previous administration, YSU and the YSU Foundation raised over $126 million to help our students and to support critical projects here on campus. And in the first 6 weeks of this year, we've raised over $6 million already. That far outpaces what we raised in the same period last year. So I'm happy to say that our donors, both here in Ohio and across the nation, they know why YSU is a special place. They believe in us, and they remain committed to helping us meet the ever-changing needs of our students. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight some of the great things that are happening with our athletic programs, because I believe they're important too. After all, this is a state of the university, and our athletic programs are an important part of that. So you need to hear this as well. In any academic year, some 550 student athletes and cheerleaders come here to YSU to participate and compete in Division I sports. Based on this number, the tuition and fees, room and board, state share of instruction, or SSI, accounts for over $11 million in revenue. Add to that the almost $5 million in revenue from sponsorships and ticket sales, and our athletic programs generate nearly $16 million total in revenue annually. And these athletes contribute significantly to upping our Penguin brand. Just consider a few of these major achievements. YSU finished second in the 23-24 Horizon League's McCafferty All-Sport standings. YSU finished among the top 2 in the McCafferty Trophy standings in each of the past 4 seasons. It's also marked the 6th time in the past 11 years that our Penguins have been in the top 2 overall. YSU shared the 20 and 21 title and won outright in 22 and 23. The program was bolstered by 5 Horizon League championships in 23 and 24. Men's cross country, men's indoor track and field, men's outdoor track and field, softball, and women's tennis regular season titles. Last year, our baseball team reached the championship round for the first time in 10 years. Men's basketball was second 1 year after winning the regular season title. Women's golf, women's indoor track and field, and women's outdoor track and field earned runner-up finishes as well. Last year, our Penguin football team, our football program advanced to the FCS playoffs for the first time since 2016, reaching the second round. The women's bowling squad was an NCAA semifinalist after reaching the Final Four, and we placed 3rd in the final NTCA poll. And we've had some national honors among our athletes as well. Bowling head coach Doug Kaburski was named the National Coach of the Year by the National 10-Pin Coaches Association. The outdoor track and field program sent 2 athletes to the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships and another to the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships. It marked the 8th consecutive year YSU sent athletes to the outdoor national meet. And get this, Jakari Lomax represented our Penguin family at the 2024 U.S. Olympic trials, placing 18th in the triple jump. No, he wasn't in Paris, but by golly, he was at the trials, and he represented us well. Furthermore, our athletes continue to excel in the classroom. In fact, we've got some of the best performing scholar athletes in the country. For example, the women's basketball program had the nation's best GPA for 23 and 24 and was honored by the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. It marks the 13th time in the last 14 years that YSU has placed in the top 25 nationally. Our Penguin softball team had the 3rd best GPA in the nation for the 23-24 academic year, en route to making the Easton NFCA top 10 GPA list. And the women's bowling program had the 6th best GPA in the nation during the 23-24 academic year. So folks, across the spectrum of our campus, though we have many challenges, we also have many opportunities to show the world what our Penguin family is made of. In spite of our challenges, we have many pockets of excellence, and there are a lot of very positive things going on here at YSU, all designed to help students from across our region, state, and nation, even the world, know why YSU is the right place for them. From the Batante College of Health and Human Services and its Great Minds Fellowships that have been so successful for both social work and counseling, as well as the many accreditation approvals they've received to expand our program offerings, to our graduate colleges' implementation of policy changes, enhanced marketing strategies, and their collaboration with our Rice Point partners that resulted in the highest ever enrollment in the College of Graduate Studies in the spring of 24, as well as numerous publications and dissertations on various aspects of health and associated sciences, to the Cliff College of Creative Arts, creation of the new Bachelor of Music in Audio and Music Production, which begins this fall. The Dana School of Music and University Theater hosting their 3rd YSU Summer Music Camp in June, which high school students from across our region attended. And the Department of Art and Dana School of Music's progress in developing 4 articulation plans for associate's degrees, 1 each with the Mahoning County Career and Tech Center and the Trumbull County Technical Center, and 2 with Chaffin. To the Beagley College of Liberal Arts, Social Sciences, and Education, standing up of various new associate degree programs in support of our Eastern Gateway efforts. Multiple collaboration projects with Rice Point to bring programs online. Its expanded conversation-based foreign language program in Spanish, French, German, and Chinese, and for being selected by Governor DeWine to lead the way rolling out his Science of Reading initiative. To our Sokolov Honors College, where our YSU Transcribing Club was recognized this past spring by the Library of Congress for the impact YSU students had on the Library of Congress's By the People transcribing collection. Our students spent over 6,500 hours and transcribed over 40,000 documents. Their collaboration with the Trustees Institute of Leadership and Teamwork in the development of a summer leadership institute for high school students, and their collaborative efforts with the new Office of Belonging, Empowerment, and Engagement to help spur student retention, recruitment, and graduation. Or to our Williamson College of Business Administration, where we're equipping students with modern skill sets to raise the confidence and marketability of our graduates, resulting in 460 industry-recognized professional certifications from various internationally recognized corporations, and their their Ohio Small Business Development Center and Export Assistance Network, through which they partnered with the Columbiana County Port Authority to create the Global Investment Hub, and which over the last 4 years had a profound economic impact on our region. Get this, 545 jobs created, 867 jobs retained, 36.8 million in capital formation, and 21.9 million in sales growth. And finally, to our STEM college, which continues to do an outstanding job of integrating our workforce education and integration efforts into the college. And they're making great strides in building that seamless integration with businesses and industries in our region. In fact, during fiscal year 24, our STEM college secured 14 federal grants, 12 state grants, all accounting for over $7 million. And our STEM students are achieving great things as well, like the YSU American Foundry Society chapter that placed first in cast in steel competition. The YSU Penguin Combat Robotics team that won 2 matches at the Nationals in California earlier this year. I think that was a first. And our YSU eHuman Powered Vehicle Challenge team that placed 3rd in design at the Society of Mechanical Engineers Festival in Lynchburg, Virginia. These are just a few of the many great accomplishments of our amazing faculty, staff, students, and administration leadership team that are putting, keeping, and raising up the YSU brand across the nation and the world. I could go on and on and on, and I would exceed my time with you, but I think you get the point. So I'm pretty sure that my capacity to speak and continue talking has exceeded your capacity to sit and to listen. So I'll close with this. Folks, YSU is an amazing place. We're both academically and financially in a very strong position. And that's not just my opinion. I believe this is why Governor DeWine specifically highlighted the critical role that YSU plays in the cultural, social, and economic survival of Northeast Ohio when he came to Youngstown earlier this year to announce the creation of the new Lake to River Economic Development Region. Yes, we've got our challenges, but we've also got many opportunities to show just what we're made of. We just need to make sure we continue improving our communications, our marketing, our branding, so that people everywhere know why YSU is the anchor university of Northeast Ohio. That's how we'll accomplish our vision to be that institution of opportunity to inspire individuals, to enhance futures, and enrich lives. Thank you all so very much for coming. God bless you all. Go Penguins.